Right. Hello, everybody. I know this video probably going to reach anybody, so I don't know why I'm saying that, but I'm going to be going over um, some of the fights that I booked in the heavyweight division, as well as later in another video I'm going to be going on about what I think some matchups should be in the heavyweight division. But so we got three fights that are booked, up and coming for the heavyweight division. We got Tuivasa taking on Taliesin Teixeira. That's happening in at the end of January. And then we've got Waldo Cortez-Acosta taking on Derek Lewis. That's also happening at the end of January. And then finally we have Ante Delija taking on Sergey Spivac, which is happening on the Strickland Hernandez card near the end of February. So no fights that are gonna get anybody a title shot or probably even near one, apart from Waldo Cortez Acosta. He if he wins against Derek Lewis, he's going to be on a free fight win streak. So I'm just going to go in, jump in, and break down some of the fights. So first off, we have Taliesin Teixeira versus Tuivasa. So Taliesin Teixeira is number 15 ranked. He's won 2 fights in the UFC so far, but he lost to Derek Lewis in his last one by TKO in the first round, 35 seconds in. Not a good look for your first attempt at getting ranked. Other than that, he only had one win in the UFC, and the other was on Dana White's Contender Series against a guy who's 6-2. Yeah, so he's going up against Tai Tuivasa, who's having a rough run of it at the moment. He's on a 5-fight losing streak to Jairzinho Rozenstruik, Tybura, Alexander Volkov, Sergey Pavlovich, Cyril Gane, 3 of which at the top of the division, so fair enough there. But Marcin Tybura and Jairzinho Rozenstruik, one isn't even in the UFC anymore, the other is just number 10 ranked. So, he's not having much luck, really, as it goes. Um, as far as this fight goes, Tai Tuivasa's got the power, you know, um, but can he connect on Taliesin Teixeira? Taliesin Teixeira quite lanky, quite tall. He is a little hard to connect. He can be hard to connect with. But he does absorb quite a few strikes per minute. Um, he absorbs, I think, double what he lands. So it could be with a man like Tai Tuivasa, you really don't want to be absorbing a lot of shots. It's just like that Derek Lewis fight. I think this fight will either go Taliesin Teixeira will get like a second round TKO. He'll wear Tuivasa down, body shots, kicks, staying at range, um, wearing him down as the fight goes on, or it'll end like Teixeira's last fight, and Tuivasa will catch him early, big shot, take him down, knock him out with some ground and pound, or just a flush knockout. So I think that's how this fight's probably going to go. Those are the two ways it could go. If Taliesin Teixeira wins, he's probably going to move up to about number 12 ranked. And I think he should be looking for the winner of Sergey Spivac or Ante Delija. Oh, sorry, not the winner, the loser of Ante Delija or Sergey Spivac. Because in that case, Ante Delija will be on a 2-fight losing streak. He'll probably be around number 10 or 11 ranked, whereas Sergey Spivac would be on a 3-fight losing streak and would be around number 9, number 10 ranked. So it would really help Taliesin boost himself up into the top 10, past that win against Tuivasa, and prove that, he could be a contender for the belt despite that knockout loss to Derek Lewis. If Tuivasa wins, his ranking isn't going to change much. Taliesin Teixeira is barely ranked 15 as it is. I reckon Tuivasa will either go anywhere between number 10 or staying at number 12 ranked. And really, he could also look for fighting the loser of Ante Delija or Sergey Spivac, but he's had his chance at the top of the division. He's shown he can't really hang with those top guys like Volkov, Pavlovich, Cyril Gane. I think he should, you know, he needs to take on a contender or two. Like he could take on Vitor Petrino instead. But I think the loser of Ante Delija versus Sergey Spivac could also be pretty good for him. And that brings me mentioning Vitor Petrino. I think he's on a 2-fight win streak at the moment. He's been pretty exciting in the UFC. Quite a lot of finishes. He had that loss to Anthony Smith where he stuck his head in the guillotine and basically just handed it to Smith, which really isn't very good. But I don't think he's going to have that problem against Tai Tuivasa or Towson Teixeira. So I think the loser of Towson Teixeira versus Tai Tuivasa should take on Vitor Petrino for the number 15 rank spot, right? Like, if Towson Teixeira loses, he's definitely out of the top 15. 2 losses in there when you're not even ranked is that's enough to get you out. Vitor Petrino, he's an up-and-comer, he's exciting. Him against Towson Teixeira to see who gets the number 15 spot back would be great. Him versus Tai Tuivasa. Tai Tuivasa, can he stay in the top 15, or will he go back to unranked in the heavyweight division, and basically by that point his career will be over. So I think the loser should take on Vitor Petrino for number 15 ranked, and then you're just you're building a contender either way. Right, so moving on. Next one, Ante Delija versus Sergey Spivac. Ante Delija's ranked number 9. He's coming off of a loss to Waldo Cortez Acosta, a knockout loss, I believe, or a TKO. So not so good for him. Sergey Spivac, he's number 7 ranked. He's coming off on a 2-fight losing streak against Waldo Cortez Acosta again, and Jailton Almeida, who's ranked just above him at number 6. So Sergey Spivac, he's got a win over Marcin Tybura. He's lost to Cyril Gahn. He's beat Derek Lewis and some of the other people in the kind of top 10 area. But other than that, he hasn't done too much. So Sergey Spivac, Ante Delija, not going to be something that gets either one back into the title picture, but could be something that gets them a top 5 or another top 10 fight, helping them get there to the title. So I think if Ante Delija wins, he'll be ranked number 6, number 7 in the division. And he could look to take on Derek Lewis coming off a loss to Waldo Cortez Acosta, or he could look to take on Jailton Almeida, if he feels his grappling's good enough to withstand that pressure from Jailton Almeida and the back take. I think he could probably do quite a bit of damage to Almeida on the feet. That could be quite a good fight for him. He just needs to have the ranking to get there in the first place. And taking out someone like Spivac, who's lost to Almeida, and getting himself ranked just outside the top 5 would be really good for getting that matchup with Almeida. And I think he could win that, honestly. His grappling seems quite improved. He was doing well against Waldo Cortez Acosta before the eye poke. He eye poked Cortez. Waldo Cortez Acosta, not the other way around. But yeah, so if he wins, I think he should look to take on Derek Lewis coming off of a loss. That could be, or maybe not. Depends on how he feels he could handle with Lewis's power, whether he could take Lewis down. And if Spivac wins, he would be ranked about number 5 or number 6 in the division. And I think he should be looking to fight Blades or a rematch against Almeida. Almeida coming off a loss, looking for potentially a safer fight. Spivac coming on a win, looking for someone around the top 5 area. They're not probably going to give him someone in the top 5, I don't think, unless they give him Blades. I don't think has he fought Blades? He has not fought Blades before, so that's a fresh matchup. That could be quite an interesting one. They're both grapplers. I think Spivac probably has the submission threat, while Blades has the ground and pound, obviously, to deal with that. So I think that would be quite an interesting matchup. That could be something Spivac's really looking forward to get, or looking at aiming for in the future, that would get him close to that title shot. So Spivac, if he wins against Ante Delija, should be looking to take on Blades or avenge his loss against Almeida. And then it'd really help secure his spot as a top 5 contender. If Delija loses, he's going to drop down to anywhere from number 10 to 12 ranked. He's going to be on a 2-fight losing streak. I think he could look to fight Towson Teixeira coming off a win, or he could look to fight Mick Parkins. And, Mick Parkins coming off a loss to Tybura. Ante Delija has beaten Tybura. He could feel that would be enough to keep him or get him back to the top 10 area. Marcin Tybura, Mick Parkin, number 13 ranked at the moment. Yeah, he's number 13 ranked. He was on a 5-fight winning streak before losing to Tybura. So, you know, Mick Parkin, Ante Delija could be quite good to, you know, get that number 10 spot in the division. Or Taliesin Teixeira coming off a win, Taliesin Teixeira looking for someone to help him move up in the division. And then you've got Sergey Spivac. So Sergey Spivac loses. I think he's going to drop to around number 9 ranked. And I think in that case he should look to fight Shamil Gaziev, the blob himself. Shamil Gaziev, who's ranked number 11 at the moment. Shamil hasn't got a fight booked at the moment. So, you know, Spivac, I think, has the submission threat to deal with Shamil Gaziev. He has the ground and pound. I don't know if Shamil Gaziev could finish him. He'd have to try and, you know, use his control time or land some strikes from the top and make it to a decision. So I think Spivac, if he's coming off a loss, he's going to be on a 3-fight losing streak. And going up against Shamil Gaziev could be a good way to just stop himself from going out of the top 10. Bring himself back in, get himself back in the win column. So I think if Sergey Spivac loses, he should look to take on someone like Shamil Gaziev. Okay, and our last already announced fight for heavyweight is Derek Lewis versus Waldo Cortez Acosta. Derek Lewis is number 8 ranked at the moment. He's on a 2-fight win streak. Waldo Cortez Acosta is number 5 ranked. He's also on a 2-fight win streak against Shamil Gaziev and Ante Delija. He lost to Sergey Pavlovich recently, but other than that, you know, he was on a 5-fight win streak at that time. He's doing quite well for himself. So I think it's hard to tell who's going to win this one. I think Cortez Acosta could maybe technically outstrike Derek Lewis, potentially. I think he'd have to mix in grappling if he wants to win. I don't know how well he's going to be able to implement that. I don't know if he's going to be able to find the knockout on Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis's chin is held up a decent amount. I think Derek Lewis could quite possibly put him out, you know, early in the first round or later in the fight, like we saw against Volkov. So I think Derek Lewis definitely has potential to win this fight. Waldo Cortez Acosta, I see him either winning by a decision or a TKO from like ground and pound. I don't know if I see him winning fully by a KO, but it's a possibility. He could, you know, trap Derek against the fence, maybe. Depends. But if Derek Lewis wins, he's going to get himself back, I think, in the top 5. He's going to get himself the number 5 ranked spot. So that could be quite good for him. And I think at that point he should aim to fight Sergey Pavlovich, because Sergey Pavlovich is number 3 ranked at the moment. You know, if Volkov can take him on, not Volkov. If Lewis can take him on and win that fight, you know, he's going to be getting himself back in the title picture. Number 3 ranked Sergey Spivac. He's on a 2-fight win streak. He also beat Waldo Cortez Acosta. You know, if Derek Lewis can beat Sergey Pavlovich, or Sergey Pavlovich beats number 5 ranked Derek Lewis, both of them are looking at a title shot potentially. You know, once the mess at the top of the division is sorted out. But yeah, so I think if Derek Lewis wins, he's number 5 ranked. He looks for a fight with Sergey Spivac. Not Blades. I don't think they're going to do Blades because Derek Lewis has already knocked him out. And I don't think Derek Lewis wants that fight again. I don't think he wants to deal with that grappling. I think he'd rather take a fight with Sergey on the feet, where Sergey has a bit of a weaker chin, and I think Derek Lewis could catch him. If Waldo Cortez Acosta wins, I think he jumps up to number 3 or number 4 ranked in the division, and he should also look to fight Sergey Pavlovich, or he could look to fight Alexander Volkov. I think Pavlovich could potentially be an easier fight, or he already lost to Pavlovich. So he could want to get that win back. Pavlovich's last win, I believe, was against Waldo Cortez Acosta, so he might not want to run that back. The UFC might not want to run that back because it happened last year in August. And Waldo Cortez Acosta has been really active since then. So I think, you know, Waldo Cortez Acosta should look to fight Volkov or try and get the win back against Sergey Pavlovich if the UFC agrees to it. If not, then, you know, Volkov would be perfect for him. I think, you know, he could definitely, I think he could get in close, do like what Derek Lewis did against Volkov in the 3rd round and just kind of put the power on him and try and crack him on the chin. But for either one of those guys, it looks good. It gets them close to the title picture. Derek Lewis versus Waldo Cortez Acosta is definitely something to set one of the other two up to get really close to a title fight. So I think, that's pretty good for both of them. In the case Derek Lewis loses, he's going to drop to about number 9, 10 or 11 ranked, I think, or number 9. I don't think they're going to decrease his ranking too much. And in that case, I think probably he should look to fight Tybura, because he's done well against wrestlers before. He's done well against Blades. He hasn't done well against Almeida, but Tybura isn't as strong as Almeida. I think, if Derek Lewis is able to stuff the takedown with that uppercut he used against Blades, or stand the fight up and keep it on the feet, I don't think he has a problem with Tybura at all. And that's a fight to keep him in the top 10. Keep him circling around in the top 10 area, and not drop down to the top 10, between the top 10 and top 15. So I think he would look to fight Tybura if he does lose this fight to Cortez Acosta, or they might look at just putting on an entertaining fight, maybe getting to fight Ante Delija. If he, loses his fight against Spivac, or even if he wins, he could fight Derek Lewis. Yeah. So if Waldo Cortez Acosta loses, I think he goes down to about number 7 or 8 ranked. And he should probably be looking to fight either Ante Delija or Sergey Spivac, just to keep himself in the top 10, or move himself up in the top 10 if he, secures the win against either of those, and, get himself back in the win column pretty early on. So yeah, I think if Waldo Cortez Acosta loses, it's probably going to be by KO. He's probably going to be out for a little while. He has been active, but I don't think he's suffered a KO loss in his career. No, he hasn't. He's only lost to Sergey Pavlovich and Marcos Rogério de Lima by unanimous decision. So yeah, I think Cortez Acosta could do well against Sergey Spivac, or Ante. He already fought Ante Delija and knocked him out. It was a competitive fight, but yeah, Cortez Acosta knocked him out. So I think he could fight Delija, or he could fight Spivac. If Delija is on a win and wants to run it back against Waldo Acosta, and if Waldo's on a loss and wants to get back in the win column and sees Delija as an easy fight he's already won before, so that could be quite interesting. But yeah, so that's what I think are going to be the outcomes, and what their matchup should be within those 3 fights that we already have confirmed for the UFC early this year in January and February.